Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morris. Today I have a very special guest. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Brian McTernan.
Hey, how's
Hi.
it going, man?
How are you? So we've been talking about getting on the
Great.
phone and chatting for a long time. Obviously, I met you a long time ago, and you were a youngster, and I was a youngster.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I was a really youngster. I was 12, I think.
12. And where was it at? Where did we meet at? Do you remember?
I'm 99% sure that it was at the Dag Nasty Swizz show on the Wig Out at Denko's tour.
Damn.
At 9:30 Club when I was in 6th grade.
Holy shit. All right, so the fact that you're going to shows in 6th grade is going to be a good way to start. Good way to start this. But we're going to take it back then. So you were born in Bethesda, Maryland, correct?
Yep.
And how was it growing up in Maryland? Because I didn't grow up in Maryland. I ended up living there for like 4.5 years of my life, but I wasn't born and raised there. So how was that growing up in
It was good. Like we lived in a nice, the funny thing is now it's real fancy, the neighborhood we grew up in.
Yeah.
But it was we had like a small house. It was like 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kind of like, modest, but it was like real safe. We could be in Georgetown in like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
it was a good location. I mean, I had the kids I grew up with were nice. Mike, my brother and I both went to Catholic school, like Little Flower, up until I was in 5th grade. And then in 5th grade, like when I started getting into like punk and like hardcore and shit like that, they told my mom that it might be better if I went to public school.
So you have 2 brothers?
Yep. My older brother Mike, who you know, and
Yep.
my younger brother Peter, who I don't know that you've ever met.
Yeah, if I met him.
He was into like hardcore for a while. He's a lawyer now. He's not into music at all. But he played
Good, clean fun, right?
He played drums in Good Clean Fun,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Mike sings in Damnation and When Tigers Fight and lots of other cool musical projects.
What up, Mike? So
Yeah.
how did you get into that? How did you get into that music so early at that age?
Well, so my brother had a friend whose older sister played guitar in the DC band At Wit's End. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that name. Yeah, for sure.
So at first she got us. Mike started coming home with like the Smiths and the Cure and Echo and the Bunnymen and like kind of like that kind of stuff, and we were into that. And then I think like big turning point was we watched Suburbia.
Nice.
And it was like fucking life-changing. I mean, we were like all revved up, and we actually like went out in the neighborhood after watching it, like snuck out of the house, and we had like ketchup and mustard, and we were like writing like
TR
on cars.
For people listening, that means
With
totally
ketchup.
rejected. The rejected, yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
man.
So I mean, and then I was like, oh. So then my mom took me, and I got like an army jacket, and I got like combat boots and all that. But then what happened was we really didn't know all of the like cool shit. And like one day I was walking up the street in my neighborhood, and I had a Sex Pistols shirt on. I was in 5th grade, so this was
crazy.
1986, and I hear this voice, and it's this guy standing in the doorway, and he's yelling, "The Sex Pistols are bollocks." And I'm like, what the fuck? So he comes out and starts talking to me, and it's this guy Jason Corkin, and he's like, his dad is like, he's just moved to the neighborhood, and his dad's like the ambassador from New Zealand.
Damn.
And this dude had like the sickest record collection, and he starts telling me that like Sex Pistols were like not good, and come check this shit out. And so he like, it was like a mission for him to find something that I loved. So he started playing Mike and I. We'd go up there, and he was playing us like at first like GBH and Peter and the Test Tube Babies, and we were like, yeah, it's cool. And then he played us Agnostic Front, and that we were like, wow, this is really cool. And then the like life defining thing that happened is he played me 7 seconds. I think it was Walk Together, Rock Together. And I was like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
This is my shit right here. And then that was like the beginning of like, and I mean, I was in 5th grade. It might have been the Crew. I can't remember, but
either way,
anyway,
7 seconds
so then,
is the greatest. Yeah.
So then what happened was we were so young. Mike was in 7th grade and I was in 5th grade. And then, but my parent, Jason was like this badass, like skinhead dude that was like, you definitely wouldn't fuck with. And my parents loved him. And I'll never forget, like, one day, like, I loved 7 seconds. And one day I went on a field trip with my swim team and I got home and I said to my mom, where's Mike? And she was like, oh, he went to see 7 seconds with Jason.
Oh. And
I was like, oh my fucking God, I didn't get to go. And so my brother's first show was 7 seconds and Justice League at 9:30 Club.
I remember those guys.
And I was super fucking pissed. And then like 2 weeks later, was my first show. My parents let Jason take me. It was Uniform Choice, Soul Side, Immoral Discipline, and Flaming Lips.
Wow.
Yeah,
sick
it
bill.
was fucking awesome. I was at Hung Jury Pub. And then that was it. Like my whole life was music from that moment forward. I'll never forget at that show. I did, like, I had never heard Uniform Choice.
Yeah.
But like I was standing up front and everybody singing along. I didn't fucking know the words. So I'm just like singing along. Every time he gave me the mic, I'd just be like, ah! And then I did a stage dive.
Damn.
There wasn't much of a stage, but I did a stage dive and they passed me all the way around the circle pit.
It's awesome.
And when I got back, my brother pulled me down and said to me, don't ever do that again. If you get hurt, Mom will never let us come back. And
that's 5th grade. That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, it was real crazy. And it was especially crazy because that was kind of the beginning of that era when there was a lot of really rough, a lot of violence at the DC shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, but we would roll in with this Jason, who was like this badass skinhead dude that knew everybody, and everybody was cool. Like we like all this, there's like one skinhead dude that would like put me on his shoulders and take me into the pit. And it was like cool. Straight suburbia style. It was fucking great.
So it seems like your parents were super supportive of that even happening at such a young age. Your parents were very open-minded?
Yeah. I mean, supportive and tuned out, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
gotcha.
Like I think it's a little bit of both, you know. Our house was definitely like shit was out of control, and I think that like basically anything that occupied us and wasn't like us getting in trouble was like okay with them.
Yeah. So did you did you do good in school?
No. I was a disaster in school. I mean, I was about music and I was about shows, and then I was about graffiti, and then I was about, you know, I didn't finish high school. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of a dark time.
So you're a wild kid in the streets doing graffiti and stuff.
Real wild. Yeah.
And what got you into the graffiti world? How'd that happen?
Just like honestly, like the Safari Club flyers. I was like, this shit
awesome.
looks fucking awesome. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And yeah, and then I just always tried to write like that, and then, you know, and then I wasn't that good, but like it's kind of like me as a musician in the sense that like I knew what was good and always loved being around people that were talented. Always had loved that. So I roped people in and found just gravitated towards people that were super talented in music and art and everything.
So In school, were you like kind of like a troublemaker too? Did you get kicked out of school and stuff like that? Suspended? Were you?
Yeah, I got like middle school. I was like not a good student, but I wasn't really like super out of control. By the time I got like ninth grade was like really really bad. Like I would kicked out of multiple schools, and I ended up like in a psychiatric hospital for a month, and
Wow.
and then when I got out of there, then I was like, I mean, the craziest thing that happened. I got out of the hospital, and the only reason they let me out was because my insurance ran out.
Oh wow.
And they recommended that I switch to this place, Reich, which is like a long-term public, almost like a juvie school. Like you stay there during the week and go home on the weekends.
Yeah.
And there was a 8-month wait list. So when I got out of the hospital, my parents were just like, oh, well, we're going to wait, and you're just going to sit at home and, wait till that opportunity, till there's an availability. And then my godmother, who had like a falling out with my parents, she got involved and said, no, you can't just like, that's not acceptable. Like you can't have him just not go to school.
Yeah.
They either have to find a spot for him or, whatever. So like provide in-home tutoring, or they have to find a spot for him. He can't just sit at home. He's kind of like, so anyway, so what happened is she kind of like advocated for me, and finally I ended up back. Like there was like another school that was willing to let me come, and I actually got in. I was doing fine. Like I didn't know anybody. I kind of kept to myself. I listened to music. I showed up. I did my shit, and I came home. And I was actually doing pretty well. And then this was ninth grade. Like I had this band Rise, and we were doing really well. And then our bass player died.
Holy shit!
He got struck by lightning. Yeah, and it was like one of the most traumatic things that's ever happened in my life, because he was like, we were super fucking close, and I'll tell you a real quick funny story about how I met him, this is what's crazy, all these little webs. So during the time that I was like being a total fuck up, the drummer from Damnation, and he wasn't in Damnation at the time, but we stole his parents' car.
Oh shit!
And we're driving, and we get pulled over on Connecticut Avenue, like right heading into DC. It's like 11:30 at night, and he had the presence of mind to tell the cop that he was his brother. So he fit the description.
Yeah.
He knew the address. He knew the date of birth, all that. The cop didn't totally believe him. So the cop said, look, I'm towing the car. I'm giving you a ticket, and I'm leaving you guys here. So this shit's like 1991 maybe.
Yeah.
And there's no cell phones. You know what I mean?
No.
So he's like, well, I know this kid Noah. I know this kid Noah, and he lives close to here. So we walk to Noah's house. We ring the doorbell at like midnight on a school night, and his parents come to the door and are like, what the fuck? And that's how I met Noah. And then through him is how I met Matt Squire, who I would go on to do Ashes in Milltown and produce records with and do all that shit. But it's like so fucking funny how
that's
like
crazy.
You just get pulled over by the police and the closest friend's house. But actually, believe it or not, at that time, Battery was already happening.
All right, so
like Battery.
What year did that start? Battery started.
Well, yeah. So okay. So this kind of ties in with what we were talking about before. So summer before sixth grade, when I'm going to all these shows, there was this like skinhead dude, Mike Mattingly.
Okay.
And he was super nice to me all the time. And then he said to me, oh, where are you going to school? And I told him, and he was like, oh shit, my sister is going there.
Gotcha.
You guys should hang out. So anyway, I start hanging out with this girl, and she's a seventh grader. I'm a sixth grader, and we start dating. And then I start hanging out at I start hanging out at her house after school, and he plays drums in a band called Strength in Numbers, and the guitar player for the band was Ken Oldham.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what happened was I just went to all their band practices, and then what happened was when the show started happening at the Safari Club, well, Ken started driving me home after their band practices.
Okay.
And when the Safari Club started doing shows, our house was kind of on the way, and he started picking us up and taking us to those shows.
Gotcha.
And at some point during that time, he said to me, "Oh, I'm doing a straight edge band too. And if you ever want to come watch us practice, like I'll pick you up after school." It's like kind of weird
So fucking
when
crazy.
you look think about it now. But he would pick me up on Fridays after school,
Yeah.
and I would go stay at his house when I was in 7th grade, and I would watch them write songs. And at the end of practice, they didn't have a singer, so at the end of practice, they'd play covers and I would sing.
Oh, shit.
And then I started singing over their shit. And so then they could never find a singer. Finally, at the end of 8th grade for me, they booked time to record a demo so they could get a singer. While we're in the studio, my brother and I both went with them.
Yeah.
And I'm telling the engineer, this guy Barrett Jones, I think it was actually, and Barrett Jones lived with Dave Grohl at the time.
Oh, wow.
Barrett Jones was like the sound man for Scream and produced the first Foo Fighters record. So he's recording this demo, and he's saying to me, "Who sings?" I was like, "Well, I sing at practice, but they're going to get a real singer." And then so he says to me, "Just go out there and do it, and then I'll run it off for him without vocals and with yours." And I went and did it, and it was like it really came out. It came out really well, and I started. I gave Sarge at the Safari Club the demo, and he put us on a Sick of It All show.
Wow.
And
man.
that was it.
And
But then they thought, I think then I lost my mind. And that's when I was like really super depressed, getting in fights, getting in trouble, like way out of control. And then when I was in the hospital, they started doing Worlds Collide, and Battery just kind of fell apart. And so we really didn't do much in that early phase.
What grade were you in when you went to the hospital?
9th grade.
And so, I mean, were you partying at the time too? Like, were you doing drugs?
No, I was straight edge. Fucking thank God I was straight edge. Holy fuck. Yeah, it was great. Actually, it's so funny because I didn't really know a lot about straight edge, but I'll never forget. We're like taking. I was with a bunch of my friends, and we're taking the Metro home from the Gorilla Biscuit show at the Safari Club. That first time they came down.
I was there with them. Yep.
Yeah, I remember.
Wow.
And remember they showed up super late.
Yes, we did. Yep.
And we're on the train, and like I said to my friend, like, "What do you think about being straight edge?" He's like, "Yeah, I think that's cool." That was it. And I was straight edge. It was, and oh my God, thank God. I mean, if you fucking took me getting arrested and running around with these like psycho people, added like drugs and alcohol, I mean, it would have been so bad. I mean, that was like the best fucking thing that ever happened to me.
It saved your life in a sense, yeah, right?
Totally. Saved my life. 100%. Like without hesitation, the most monumental thing in my life was becoming straight edge.
Was it your choice to go seek help? Or was your parents trying to make you do that? Is it something that you thought you needed?
To go see what?
To go to the hospital. Was that your choice?
Oh no, that was. I mean, I will tell you, it's a really like awful story. So, and I feel bad for my parents because I think they really just didn't know what to do. But I was like out of control. Like I wasn't coming home for days at a time. You know, like running with some like pretty like crazy
gnarly dudes, right?
Yeah. And then so I kept like saying to my mom, like, there are people like me at schools that are doing fine. Like I had friends that were in like private schools and that were like my school was like, you know, my brother went there and people kind of like, I don't want to say like teased him, but like kind of like, you know, it's like a jock rich kind of like, fuck those people. I mean, I just wanted to fucking kill everybody. So
you were protecting your older
anyway,
brother. It's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, not protecting, but just like, you know, like his response to it was to just like be above it and fucking ignore it. And my response was to want to like fight everybody. So there was like some sort of incident and my mom took me to this like emergency counseling session. And I've been to like all these doctors since I was a little kid. And I like got really upset and stormed out. And the lady convinced my mom I needed to go to the hospital. But what they did was, instead of like talking to me about it, which I probably would have run away.
Yeah.
My mom told me, "Oh, we're going to this hospital so we can get you tested so you could go to a school where you're going to be like, it's more fitting to you." So we show up at Shady Grove Hospital and we're like walking and everything's fine and I'm in a great mood. And we fucking walk through this door and then my mom doesn't come through.
Are you fucking
and they
serious,
like close
man?
it behind me. Yeah.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 13.
That's
14,
fucking
14.
heavy, dude.
Yeah, it was real heavy. And the place has since been shut down because it was I was on a fucking ward with adults.
Holy shit.
It was very fucked up.
Were you just a rebel?
So the thing that breaks.
Go ahead, keep going. Go ahead.
The thing that breaks my heart about it is, like, to this day, my mom is still, like, if it comes up, she like is in tears. Like, I mean, it was just, she got bad advice. She didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Globally, it was awful. And then, like, the thing I think that was like hardest for my parents, just didn't know what to do ever. Like,
yeah.
Like, they were embarrassed, so they didn't tell anybody. So, like, I literally, like, I didn't have visitors the entire, like, nobody came to see me. One time my brother came to see me and his car broke down or something, but I was there just alone.
For how long?
It was like for a month.
Damn, man. And that young, a month is a fucking long time, man. That's
oh
like...
my God. Especially when you're, you know, you're fucking 14. I mean, think about that. 2 years younger than Max, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And what do you think it was? Were you just a rebellious kid? Like, you always like that?
Yeah, I was like, I was just super angry. There was a lot of like, I'd had depression since I was like really young, but then my parents had like my dad had like pretty severe obsessive compulsive disorder.
Okay.
And then my mom has had like severe depression, and she's very like,
gotcha.
They had just a fucking awful relationship, and there was a lot of fighting, and my brother and I fought a lot, and it was like not a happy.
It was toxic in the house, so that's why you never there.
Yeah, and then I was I didn't have anything at that time to like, you know, sink my teeth into. It's so funny now because you meet like if I tell bands some of this stuff that we're like, I'm in the studio, I'm like the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine me having like an explosive temper? You know, it's like I just needed something to like love, and I up until that point, I literally felt like I'm not good. I was never good at sports. I was never like cool. Like, you know, like school was tough for me. My house, like, my house was fucking wreck. My dad would like photocopy everything 1,000 times and like leave notes, like, rather than talk to us. Like I would do.
Brian, you there? Brian, I lost you.
Would put a note on the wall that says, "Do not write on wall."
Oh, because you were doing like, you were tagging in your house, right?
Yeah, I was tagging my house, and then I was stealing their car. I was stealing, and instead of like doing anything about it, they put like a chain and a fucking padlock on it.
Holy fuck! So there's really no communication there, just notes and shit.
Nothing.
Wow, man.
Just crazy shit. Yeah. So, and then I was like not coming home. You know what I mean? So it's really hard for me as a parent to ever imagine letting things get that bad.
Yeah.
But they just had an awful relationship, and the funny thing is they're doing pretty well now.
Oh, they're still together?
They're still together, which is still together, which is crazy.
Holy shit!
And my younger brother kind of got spared, and like Mike and I kind of raised him, you know, like a pack, you know, wolves.
Yeah. It's crazy that like you still were straight edge, and like it's amazing, man, through all that, because that's easy. People can just go on the path of like, I'm gonna get fucked up, fuck my parents, and all this shit. Like,
well, that's the beauty of straight edge, right? Yeah. Like I was a fucking rebel, and that felt like the most rebellious thing, because I didn't like fucking jocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't like, and then the punk thing was just like it was too like not personal. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, like hardcore spoke to my soul. Yeah, I would literally read like 7 Seconds and fucking Youth of Today and those GB, like literally read those lyrics over and over again. It was like a religion.
Like a mantra.
It was like, yeah, and it felt like me. And going to shows, I literally was like, that's what these guys look like me. You know what I mean? These guys like, you know, I mean, so anyway, hardcore was like the thing that I like, and it was also the thing where people are like, oh, you're good at this. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'd never been good at anything. I never felt like I never thought for a second in my life that I would amount to anything up until I was doing music. And then it was like, hey, I wrote this. And people are like, I want to come and like watch you play that. Yeah. I want to tape it for my friends and tell them about it. I mean, it was like, it gave me something that I could, you know, sink my teeth into and like, so yeah, so that shit was wild.
So when you came back from the hospital, you went back to school?
I went back to school, and then
that would be 10th
Noah
grade,
died.
Maybe? Oh, then he died. That's right.
Well, this was 9th grade. So then at the end of 9th grade, Noah died. Damn. And then they decided to send me to this school for like kids with like emotional difficulties, because I had been doing better, and they put me there and I did totally fine. Yeah. And so then they transferred me out of that back to like Gen Pop at my original school. Gen Pop, yeah. That I had gotten kicked out of. And I got in like a fight like the first day. Oh, shit. And the principal called me to the office, and he called my mom, and they were like, you can't stay here. And they called the other school I had been at the year before, and that dude said, well, he was fine here. He can come back. Oh, that's cool. Totally. So then I went there, and I really didn't get in a lot of trouble at school moving forward. Yeah. I just skipped school. Like my mom would drop me off, and I would like kind of walk towards school and then go hang out at McDonald's with the security guard.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Were you a skater back then too? Did you skate?
No, I wasn't. Well, I thought I was really good. I mean, it's funny how this is like one of the reasons I gave up on skating is I didn't have any friends that were good. So it was like I never got really good. And once I realized like, wow, I suck. Like, you know, it's funny how like your peers set the bar, right? Yeah. It's like I had never even seen anybody that was good. It was kind of like the opposite. Like for me with music, like Matt Squire and Ken were my musical peers, and they're still to this day like two of the most talented people I've ever come across. Yeah. And I've done this. And so the bar for me music wise was fucking endless, you know? Yeah. So I wasn't much of a skater. Some of my friends were, but not.
So nobody was good. So nobody inspired each other to be better, because none of you guys could skate in the first place. So
right. And then I was like, I'm so far from being good enough to like care. Like, yeah, you know.
And so, so you dropped out of high school at 17?
Yeah. So then, well, this is pretty funny. Like, so then we were doing. After Noah died, we formed Ashes, which was Rise, the band I'd been doing, minus Noah. And then Ashes was doing really well, and Ken was doing Worlds Collide, and I was like a total fuck up in school and wasn't doing that well. So one day I walked into a record store, and literally like this dates it, but I don't even know that I owned a CD player at this time. And I saw a Battery CD, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I pull it down, and it's the fucking demo and 7-inch we did when I was in 8th grade.
Holy shit.
And it's on a CD, and it's on Lost and Found.
Oh, shit. Lost and
And
found.
I was like, what the fuck is this? And so this is the craziest thing. Up until like 2 years ago, everybody told me it was a bootleg.
Which I would think
actually
it wasn't.
What actually happened was they reached out to my brother and Ken to put out The Worlds Collide, and my brother, I guess, sent them the battery too. He said, "Can I put this out?" And they said, "Go ahead and put it out."
Oh,
and so,
shit.
so Ken and I weren't really that close at that time. I was super focused on Ashes,
Mm-hmm.
but Lost and Found then said, like, people love this here. If you guys ever wanted to do another record, like, we would put it out and we would bring you over. So Ken and I talked about doing a record, and that was only the Die Hard Remain.
Yeah.
I was 17, and we decided to. I went to my school counselor, and she was basically like, you know, there's no reason to, like, you should do that. But,
Wow.
you know, there's no point. You don't want to miss that to be.
Yeah.
And by that time, I had really, like, I had pulled things together, and I was dating my wife now.
Yep.
We started dating in 94, 93, right around, we were together right when Battery went to record our first full length. And real funny story. The first time she ever came to my house, the house was being raided by the police for graffiti.
Holy shit.
You have to have her tell you the story sometimes. We drive, and they're like 30 cop cars.
Holy shit.
And I was like, oh my God, like, duck, like, get the fuck out of here. And I really hadn't been doing graffiti for a while at that point. But this crew that I had started with some guys really had taken over. And because I had started it, they kind of had it out for me. So so anyway, yeah. So
what was your graffiti name?
So yeah, it was Rage.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, but the funny thing is, all these guys that I was like running with, a lot of them, like, do you know Roger Gassman?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Beyond
so Roger and I went to high school together, and I got him into graffiti.
You got him into
now
graffiti.
Now the fucking
Holy
world
shit.
aficionado on graffiti.
Wow. Holy shit.
So Roger was like the Ashes roadie. So like his dad had passed away, and he had a car, but he didn't have a driver's license yet. So his mom would let me take the car, and that's how we got to all the Ashes shows.
Holy shit.
Now
he's got
so anyway,
Beyond the Streets.
So a lot of those kids I was doing graffiti with were like legit good and legit smart, and it was pretty funny.
So what year did Ashes start?
Ashes started in 91, 92.
So you had done the Battery demo, and then all the other stuff happened. Then you did the Ashes, and then you came back to.
Then I did Ashes, and Ashes was like my main focus, and then we did Battery, but Battery like literally was like, it was like kind of a side project for everybody. I mean, Ashes was my focus at that point, and Worlds Collide and Damnation were Ken's focus, and then everybody in Ashes got into college like in the Northeast. So like Matt Squire was going to Boston University, and Elena was going to Brown, and Jack was going to NYU. So I decided to move to Boston.
Yeah.
And we were going to try and keep the band going. So then, like I had this fucking harebrained idea. This is in Ashes and Battery, I was never the recording guy.
Okay.
It was always Ken and Matt.
Gotcha.
And Ashes went to record the last two songs we ever recorded, and Matt had to leave. And so I was like the default dude.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was the first time I ever sat behind a console and was like, holy shit, this is what I want. This is what I want to do with my life. So I ended up like borrowing some money from people, and Matt had a bunch of gear, and I bought enough stuff to do a studio. And when I moved to Boston, I lived in a house with Sweet Pea.
Nice.
And Trey from Death Wish and Pete from Mouthpiece and Ben from 10 Yard Fight. And I set the first incarnation of Salad Days up in the basement of that house.
And what year would that be?
And that was 94.
94. Okay.
And I literally was like, didn't have any clients. I didn't have anything going on. And I put flyers all over town and nobody ever called. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a fucking disaster. Like, in all this debt, nobody's recording with me. And then one day, do you know Rama Mayo? He did Big Wheel Recreation at the Boston label. Well, anyway, one day he stopped by the house and was like, oh, you guys have a studio here. I have this band that wants to do a demo. And that was Cast Iron Hike. I don't know if you remember that band.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and so I recorded them, and then they were like pretty like well-known.
Yeah, they were.
Respected dudes in Boston, and then people started. So I literally went the first 2 months I was in Boston. I didn't record. Literally did not record one band. After I recorded them, within the rest of that year, I recorded Converge, Cave In, 108, Texas Is the Reason. Like it just like pieballed. It just fucking exploded. I mean, it was crazy.
Ducky Boys.
Ducky Boys. Yeah, like Blood for Blood. I mean,
I'm looking at the list right now. Reach the Sky, fucking Snapcase, fucking Hot Water Music Explosion, Thrice, Movie Life. Dude, this Jersey, Strike Anywhere, Bane, Circus Survive, Senses Fail, Autumn to Ashes, The Bled, Set Your Goals, Fireworks, Fury, Angel Dust, Turnstile, Diamond Youth. It's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's it. Was crazy, man. And then we started doing. This was like at that time. Remember when like every band was getting signed to a major label?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started doing. Did you ever meet Jonah from Only Living Witness?
Yes, I have, for sure.
Okay. So Matt Squire and I started doing this band Milltown with Jonah from Only Living Witness. We recorded the demo, and then like Orange 9mm was coming to play in Boston, and I just had this feeling like maybe Mike Gitter will be there. So I give my roommate the demo. I'm like, hey, if Mike Gitter happens to be there, give this to him.
Awesome.
And I'd never even met him. I just knew of him.
Yeah.
And the next day, my phone rings, and it's Mike Gitter. And it's like, hey, I got this demo from your roommate. And so anyway, like,
that's awesome.
Then it was like our next show had like all these major label dudes at it. And then we signed to a subsidiary of Warner Brothers when I was 19.
Damn.
And then that shit was a fucking disaster. We broke up. We went with like the worst possible producer you could ever imagine.
Oh man,
I mean, you had the like kind of weird major label experience. Like, dude had no fucking idea what we were going for.
Yep.
The demos were great. He just watered it all down, and we ended up. The record fell apart, and then we were gonna go back and start over with another producer, but the without getting into too much of the nitty gritty, there ended up being like a physical altercation in the rehearsal space, and literally like most of the dudes, like some of those dudes, like we never talked again for like almost 20 years.
Okay.
So, but we just played.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. It's crazy.
3 weeks ago with Cave-In, and it was fucking sweet.
And I saw that's amazing. So how long did that band last for?
Like a year.
Okay.
Like a year and a half, maybe.
Wow.
And then I was like, fuck it. I have no reason to be in Boston.
Yep.
And at the time, Battery was doing pretty well, and I was thinking, I'll move back to DC and start the studio there. But you were kind of responsible for the end of Battery because you called me and you wanted us to play. What record was it? It was a record.
Thick in the Water in '97.
Showing. Yep. So you called me and said like, hey, can you guys play? And I'm like, yeah. And then Battery was big in DC. So it was like announced and flyers and all the shit. And I didn't want to let you down.
Thank you.
one day I get this call from Ken in the middle of the night, and he leaves me a message being like, dude, you know, Better Than the Thousands tour I don't remember the exact, got moved up, and unfortunately we're going to have to cancel the H2O show. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then I called the bass player from Better Than the Thousand, and he was like, dude, what are you talking about? That shit happened 6 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck that.
Damn.
We're gonna play anyway. So we played that show with you guys was without Ken and without Graham, and with some scabs, and that was it for Battery.
Holy shit! So then you never talked really after that for a while.
So we had, you know, we would see each other a little bit, but we really didn't talk for up until even when we did the first Rev 25, like Ken and I didn't really communicate a lot. We have a loaded relationship because I think, like, you know how when we met, I was fucking 12 and he was like 17-year-old, like, accomplished musician writing awesome songs, and I was like definitely a hanger-on, like, and I like idolized him, you know, with good reason.
Totally.
By the end of the band, I was fairly accomplished myself.
Yeah.
And our relationship never, like, we're always friends, but it never kind of like leveled out. It's kind of like, you know, it's like, it was never like, I think he never quite, like, I think he always kind of saw, I felt like he always kind of saw me as that little kid. And by that point, Milltown, Ashes, the studio, I mean,
you're doing great.
Been doing some pretty good shit. And I felt like, and unfairly, I think that I was resentful and never, like, you know, in Ken's defense, I would never said to him, yo, dude, we got to figure this out.
No,
it just was like, and not healthy. But actually, like, when we decided to do the go to Europe again with Battery, I decided, you know what, if we're going to do this, we got to talk it out. So we went and had coffee and sat and talked for like a long time, got everything out there.
Awesome.
Then got together with like all the kids and their wives, and shit is like real, you know, positive now.
So when you moved back to DC, like, that's when the producing really took off for you.
So at first I had some business partners in Boston, and that didn't end well. It ended, and so kind of when I came back to Baltimore, I mean, I went from like fucking Milltown and Battery and the studio, like every fucking thing in the world was like going right. Yeah. And over the course of like 3 months, all of it ended, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like back living in the basement at my parents' house.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I decided, like, I'm just going to get a house with some friends again. And I set up my little studio in the control room was the dining room, and the drums went in a little room in the basement, and just like super DIY, and just started grinding, man. You know, like, recording bands every day of the week, and just totally kind of built it back up. And I mean, in that little house that we did the Movie Life record, we did Cave In, Jupiter, we did, I mean, Reach Sky, Piebald, like lots of cool shit. And then I saved up money, and that's when I bought I bought a house and then built like a real proper building behind it with a studio. And then I really lucked out again with that, because it was like, remember that place, St. Andrew's Church, where, so I was finishing building the studio, and Hot Water Music was playing at St. Andrew's, and I talked to Jason Black, and he was like, oh, we'll swing by the house. And they came by and saw the studio, and we're like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Yeah. We just signed to Epitaph, like, maybe we should do our record here. And that was really big for me. Awesome. Hot Water was like, they were like one of my favorite bands. And they were also, every band up until that point, I had gotten involved with at their demo, you know, and then their 7-inch, and then their full length. Yeah. Hot Water was the first like established band that I didn't like develop, that came to me. And I think that like when they did that, that was big in terms of like the perception of other bands being like, oh, we could go to McTernan, you know? And I was like 23 or 24 then.
That's crazy.
And I think like that now there's so many young dudes that are like recording, but back then that wasn't a thing. I mean, there weren't like a bunch of young producers with their own studio. Like, you know, bands were having to go to the studio and play, oh, I want this kind of drum sound. I want this kind of guitar sound. Where like, I knew exactly what they were influenced by and knew exactly what they wanted. And I think there was like a comfort level. The other thing was like, because I didn't, like at first I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Mm-hmm. So one thing I realized early on was like, you know what? I don't have all this shit, but good songs sound better.
Yeah.
And so I started really early on, really working with bands on like arrangements and like performance and the songs and the lyrics and things like that, because that was something I could control when I didn't have tons of gear.
Yeah.
And so I think like now it's real normal for like, there are a lot of people that are like doing pre-production and doing like hardcore work on the songs before you even hit record. But back then there weren't. And there were like Don's the entire, but you just kind of go in, set up, and he hits record. Yep. So I think that it was kind of an exciting time, and we were, and that Beltsville house, I mean, that's where I did like, you know, Circus Survive and Bane Gave Blood and 3 Hot Water Music records and all sorts of shit. And then, it was kind of a crazy thing because Matt Squire had been in Milltown with me. Yep. And he, after Milltown, was really not doing anything, but he's super fucking talented. So I convinced him to move to DC and help me in the studio. And so he was like assisting me on projects. And then he set up his own studio. And then like the second or third record he ever did was Panic at the Disco.
Holy shit! At his own new spot, right? Wow.
And that shit like blew up. So he ended up buying that studio from me.
Okay.
And I ended up buying a building up in Baltimore and moved. So Matt still has that. That's still like a functioning.
Oh wow.
That's still a functioning studio.
He's still there. So what would be like your biggest? I want to say biggest. Well, I guess record that like you're like, holy shit! I produced this record and now it's selling this many copies and. Or even did you? I
mean, I think the biggest, I would say probably like Thrice was really like the most exhilarating ride. Only because like when they first came in, it was like they're the fucking nicest dudes you're ever going to meet too. But they were like young kids. I mean, they were like had never been to the East Coast and like and we did the record and it was like. I mean, it was like, you know, the budget was like $6,000 or something. Yeah. It was like nothing. And I just remember they were like one of the first bands that I had ever worked with that was like really into like their craft of like being musicians. Yeah. Now there's tons of bands like that. But I remember the first day coming down and they had like modern bass player and guitar player and like shit like that. I'd never seen a band care about being like good. Yeah. And but that was like that was a really awesome thing because they not only did that record, the first record I did with them, blow up, but that they still wanted me to be involved in their major label record.
That's really awesome.
So they got signed to Island, and I also then did their second record, The Artist in the Ambulance, and like and it was cool. Like we did, you know, I mean, you know, it's like fucking cool as shit. So like I actually don't really care that much about like the commercial success.
Yeah.
Most of what I like isn't super popular in that way, but to have a record come out and have it be like, you know, 50,000 copies scanned the first week or whatever like it was pretty like exciting. And then when I think about like my life as like a fucking kid in a hospital, like with like nothing, you know what I mean? Like feeling like I don't have anything in the world. I'm not good at anything. I have no hope for my life in any way, to like, wow, I toured the world as like a hardcore band and just produced a record that's like people are like running to the stores. But like, it was a pretty like, you know, that was one of the first times I was like, wow, this is like for real. This is like, this is happening. And I'm fortunate because, like, you know, my wife, like, at that point in time, we lived in the house where the bands also lived, and most of us were kind of the same age. So we just we're so close with the bands.
Yeah.
And it's like so invested. It wasn't at all like, okay, where's my check? We were like, they were like, you know, we that was our lives. We didn't have kids. We had dogs, and we had the bands, and that was it. So, and that was a pretty exciting ride. And then those dudes, I mean, the reason I say them and Circus Survive too, it's like, both of those bands came to me and really, like, it hadn't started. So I like, Circus Survive had never played a show, and Thrice was just like, you know, a small West Coast band had never left the West Coast. Getting to now go see them and to see them still drawing so many people and have people still care so much, it's just so, you just feel like lucky to have been around to watch it all.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
So, yeah. So, I mean, then there's, like, you know, other things have done really well, and, like, you know, but just being involved at inception, like, that was just so exciting to watch.
Yeah. So at that point, you're a producer, and that's your career. You're not doing really any music at that point, right? It's just straight producing.
Right.
For how many years straight did that go before you missed, like, playing music and writing songs?
Let's see. Well, so I had a pretty wild ride. Like, I had, like, a little, like, label deal with Atlantic, and
awesome,
doing some shit like that. And so basically from 97 up until, I want to say maybe 2013.
Damn.
That was like all. That was it. That was all I did, and it was awesome. But I got, you know, that I had, like, I got to be with it through kind of the peak.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, labels stopped paying me, and budgets got really tight, and I got, you know, just the culture of, like, kind of the way records are made has changed a lot. Like, because you can fix everything, bands are coming in less and less prepared. And the other thing is, like, I mean, any band that has, like, any sort of, like, hardcore roots, I almost never have an issue with. Some of the bands that are just, like, totally, like, from another world. Yeah. And I was getting older and the bands were getting younger. Some of them got harder. And then my daughter was born, and I got to a place where I was like, I'm not that happy doing this anymore. And I felt like I needed a break. Yeah. So in 2000, the first thing I did was I sold the building where the studio was in 2012. Yeah. And I got a smaller space with less overhead and thought, oh, maybe it's the stress. But I was still, the funny thing is I had a couple records that year that were like that year between when I took an official break and when I sold the building. I mean, that year I did the Angel Dust, the Fireworks, and Turnstile. And, like, all three of those bands, those records, and those people, I mean, top tier everything. I mean, I fucking love all those people so much. But I had a couple in there as well that made me feel like I never want to do this again. And so anyway, I ended up deciding to take a kind of a leave of absence. Yeah. And I left, and I got a job at first being like a project manager for a construction company, because one little side twist to all this is I always built my own studios and renovated houses and did shit like that. So I was super interested in.
How'd you learn that?
That kind of stuff.
What got you into that? How'd you do that? Start doing that?
Well, because, like, when I was like 19 and you want to have a studio and you don't have any money, like you just build it, you know?
DIY.
And then, and then we would, like, we ended up in Baltimore because my wife was like, Baltimore's cheap as shit. Like, you know, and so we bought a place up here that we were going to just, like, sell. And so we're coming up here and fixing it up. And then we ended up loving Baltimore and sold other place and stayed up here. But anyway, I got into like some construction type stuff, and then because that fucking hardcore kid, like like when I was like 15, I'm booking tours. So
it's crazy.
To be a successful like person in the hardcore scene, you kind of have to be a little bit of a serial entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I go into this place. I've never had a real job in my entire life, and like within 6 months, I'm the COO, and they have me like managing like all the like other people, and
that's amazing.
That was pretty fun. The thing is, I'm glad I did it, and I kind of proved to myself that I could. And then I also kind of proved to myself that I'm a fucking hardcore kid and I'm a musician, and I can't really do that. And the other thing was I was making a shitload of money, and I also realized that didn't make me happy. And like, if my phone's blowing up at 2:00 in the morning and it's a text from Toby, that makes me happy. When it's a text from some asshole that like trying to buy something, I want to just like shoot myself. So anyway,
that's amazing. You can thrive. Honestly, you can thrive in the real world and like be like almost a normal person and you can actually do. At least you can do that, and you have that skill. That's amazing, I think. But
well, I mean, I couldn't. So like the flip side of it is, I was fucking miserable.
Okay.
I mean, it brought me zero joy. I hated the people I was working with. I was putting the same kind of emotion and energy into it that I had put into bands and all of, but at the end of the day, it's like, it wasn't interesting, and it was like, whatever. And I was super, super miserable, and I was drinking too much, and I was like tuned out from my life, and I would just get home and just like want to be numb. And what really happened was we decided to do this little run of battery things. And it's funny how, because I'm not straight edge now, but it's funny how like hardcore, I feel like, saved my life again in that I wasn't even fully aware of how miserable I was. I just was like numb to life. And when we started having the battery thing, we're planning, we're coming up with t-shirts designs. All of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to have something to care about.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it feels like to have something to look forward to, and to like have a reason to be talking to all these people that I miss so much.
Yeah.
And we did it, and it was fucking great, man. And it was like, and the shows were awesome, and it was like reconnected with people that we hadn't seen forever. And I just kind of like reconnected with like a part of myself that I had like really put on hold.
Yeah. What year was that? What year?
That was 2016, maybe.
Okay.
I want to say 2017, maybe. So.
And how long had it been since you guys played together?
We hadn't really we did the Rev 25, but it had been like 18 years. Wow. And we did a song. We did it. We did a new song, and it was like, wow. I just like, man, I fucking miss just like having shit to drive around in the car and listen to, and light lyrics, and like that's all I had known my whole life. And even the producing, I had really put like my own feelings and my own kind of things that I needed to get out on the back burner for a really, really long time. And so I mean, we did that, and it was super fucking awesome. And then we really had the intention to try and make a battery record. Yeah. And
These Are the Days, right? That was a song, right? 2000.
No, that's an old song.
What's the new one?
It was cool. We didn't play it on the tour. It's called My Last Breath. I'll send it to you later. It's a really cool, it's a cool song.
Okay. No, I heard. I remember Daniel the Swede's like, "Yo, check out the new Battery. It's fucking awesome." I remember hearing it was awesome. It was just like you guys never even left. Yeah. Yeah,
and it was cool. And but then what happened was when we tried to write, we like couldn't get on the same page. And you what you sing, so like you need to feel it, or you don't.
Yeah, I can't fake it.
And what ultimately happened was Ken wrote a bunch of stuff that I kind of was like, some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. And then I wrote a bunch of stuff that he didn't like any of it. So, which was fine because you know what?
Fine.
The thing is, it's just better. It's like the world doesn't need a record there's plenty of awesome shit. So if you're not going to make awesome shit, just don't make it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I don't want to like do music just to have something to do. I want to do music because like that's how like the only way I can like really feel and communicate and be in the world. And when you're not feeling it, it's just like, could I put words over it? Yeah, but am I inspired? Do I want to like leave my family and lose money to go do this? No. And it was great because I mean we can still do Battery, and we could we can do things like we fucking toured with you this summer. It was one of the best experiences of my life. But
thank you.
There doesn't need to be a new Battery record unless it's going to be heartfelt and made with love.
Yeah. Is it weird coming back as being a producer and writer and helping people with song structure and melodies and lyrics to come back and write a new Battery song? Was it easier for you? Like the one you guys released?
I mean, so with Battery, I mean, it was a little bit harder because like when a lot of what I do with bands is like play, like help move the chords around and like figure out the like, I write like a hardcore and a punk song more like as a base for the vocals rather than like a riff.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So like what I really need to come up with vocals that I feel like really good about is movement and like where like a lot of hardcore is like definitely the way Ken writes Battery stuff is more like a straight box kind of like it was hard for me to with where my head is songwriting wise to get back there. And I wasn't, so yeah.
And so now fast forward to Be Well, your newer band, which is awesome. And you played your first show with us in DC.
Yes.
How's that feel? How's it feel writing new songs and playing with a new band now in 2019?
It feels great.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. It's like, I don't want to say I'm proud of myself because that sounds like kind of a weird thing to say, but like I remember like I'm like sitting on the plane coming back from Europe.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck man, I really miss this. Yeah. And I also feel like we can't keep doing like what I need to do creatively isn't this. And like balancing that, like, would it be way easier if it was in Battery record rather than a Be Well record? Like, there's a built-in audience. We get on tours. It's, whatever. You're not starting over.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't where I was at. And then kind of like when I was doing Ashes in Milltown, I had Matt Squire was like my safety blanket. Here's this like fucking super brilliant teammate.
Yep.
And then Ken, so it was kind of like at the beginning, it's just me and like Mike Schleibbaum was helping me, but like I just decided that it was something I needed to do and for a lot of reasons, and I just didn't give up on it.
Yeah.
And then all of it, I just kept writing and kept writing and kept writing. And then slowly one day I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of songs. And like started sending it to people. And we just lucked out because Aaron from Bane, Aaron Dahlbuck, who's like, I recorded him in Converge and Bane. Like we go way back.
Yeah. Moved
to Maryland.
He's awesome.
And then Mike Schleibbaum, Darkest Hours doing a little bit less if he was available.
Metal Mike.
And then a couple of the guys from Fair. Yep, Metal Mike. and all of a sudden it's like I have these awesome dudes that all love it, and and then awesome dudes like you popping us on that show, and then it's now it's it's probably I hope EDR is going to put the record out.
That's awesome,
which
man.
I'm super psyched about. We just we're finishing the layout now, and it's cool, and I'm it's a very, very, very personal record, and I think that it's funny because it's like a lot about like not parenting per se, but kind of like my perspective on like growing up and living and like who I am and my regrets and my, you know, I'm not writing about like the scene and the kids and people talking shit, you know? So I think like I'm glad that I did it. And the nice thing is also it's new. So it's like, it's going to be what it's going to be, you know?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
would it be fucking awesome if it takes off? Yeah. If it ends up as being like something special that we have that we did together, and that's fine too. You know what I mean? It's like, we're all at a place in our life where it's like just happy to have something to think about and care about. And,
and go ahead.
What's up?
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, and like, you know, that it doesn't mean that I won't do some battery stuff. Like, I still love doing battery, and I love those dudes and whatever. But it is really fun to have something new. Totally.
And you mentioned like being a parent and stuff. How did your life change when you became a parent? Like, do you? Because you get to balance it all. You know, you're like you don't have like a normal 9 to 5. You know, you probably have more time to spend home. And
it was a pretty huge shock to my system at first, to be honest. Like, I was like, you know, working till midnight every night, and the timing of it all. Like, Cassie was born in 2007. It was like right around the like economic collapse. So it was like all of a sudden we've got $2,000 a month in daycare, and like labels aren't paying me, and we're like got like major, you know, it was an adjustment, and
scary.
And you know, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like you have to kind of navigate your relationship with your wife or husband or whatever it is. Like, it changes so much. It's like, but it's like the best thing. I mean, I love her so much, and she's, you know, it's like, it's amazing how, like, you know, just like how awesome she is, and like how, like, I guess what I would say is, thing I'm most proud of in life is like, my home life was so fucking miserable when I was a kid. Yeah. And like, I got home from the first battery tour, and my dad literally didn't know I was gone.
Holy shit.
Where Cassidy is so like loved, and she, you know, I mean, it's like, she has problems, and we're not perfect by any fucking stretch, but like, she is like my older brother is like the best uncle you could ever imagine. And like, we're you know, we eat together and talk, and like, I know all her friends, and kids are here all the time. And I just feel like that is like, of everything in my life, like, that probably is kind of the most meaningful to me, in that it's something, it's like, she isn't living with the kind of trauma that I had. And I never wanted to have kids and have it be that way. And it's like, that's something I can look at and say, hey, you know, I can look at her and be like, I'm not that bad. You know, I helped make this. My wife is fucking amazing with her. So it's, you know, it's funny because like, I dropped out of high school. My wife got into Harvard like the same week.
That is crazy. That's amazing. You guys balance each other. That's amazing though.
Yeah, so we thought, the funny thing is, if you met the two of us, she's like out of her fucking mind, and you know what I mean, like, is like, stays up all night making weird art, and awesome. I you know, at this point in my life, I have my shit together pretty good.
Yeah, it's so I mean, so obviously, the way you grew up and your parents, and then you become a parent, you want to give them a complete opposite life. Have you ever, this late in the game in your life, have you talked to your parents about? Do they know? In a sense, the shit that they were cutting out there mentally? I don't know.
They know. I feel bad because my brother's like way closer with them. Yeah. Like, and this, what kills me for them is they're such great grandparents.
Oh, wow.
Like, they're so good with my daughter, and so loving, and so.
It's like, where were you when I was a kid? Yeah.
I mean, but I find it really super like anxiety producing to be around them.
I'm sure.
And
I'm sure,
I
man.
have a lot of guilt about that because they want to like, my mom was a nun, so she's got like the whole Catholic guilt thing. Like, dude, Mike's mom was a nun too.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But my mom will be like, my mom just like lays on the like, and I like sometimes it's like with my daughter, it's like my mom will be like, I haven't talked to Cassidy in so long. Do you think she remembers me? I'm like, don't fucking put that on this little kid. Of course, like, you know.
Yeah.
But no, we don't like to talk about it. You know, we don't talk about it. And I know that my mom in particular feels awful, and I feel awful that she feels awful. And it's just like, I just don't, you know.
Do you
it's crazy.
Do you have any regrets in life?
Oh my God, too many to count.
Sometimes I ask people, they're like, "No, I got nothing." I'm like, "Really? You sure?" We all have that in our lives.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I do. But I feel like I'm in a good place right now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, all the stuff you've been through and everything, how you turned out and everything you've been through is fucking amazing, man. Like everything, just hearing your story, talking to you today, it's fucking. I mean, hardcore definitely, punk rock definitely saved your life, gave you confidence, made you feel like you belonged. You know, you found your place in music and producing, and it's pretty amazing, man. That you know.
Yeah, and the fucking crazy thing is, like, you and I met when I was 12.
It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's the little web of like people that.
Oh, you cut out. Shit.
Like, in the same kind of sphere, we've all gravitated around each other all this time. It's like incredible. I mean, it really is.
You just cut out for a second. You said it's like a small web. You said right before that. What'd you say?
Yeah, and I was just saying it's like all of these people have just gravitated around each other,
man,
for so long. It's like it's amazing, like how fucking cool it is.
It's crazy. Do you have any what's like a daily, like, do you have any daily rituals? Like, what's something that you do every day?
Coffee is first every day.
Respect.
I've been trying to like, and then maybe I've been trying to run.
Awesome.
And that's kind of like helped. Like when I can stick with that, it wakes me. I feel just kind of like more alive.
Yeah,
a little bit,
for sure.
You know, and that those are. You know, those are the constants right now.
Are you working on music right now? Like, you producing anybody right now?
Yeah. So I'm finishing the Be Well full length right now,
awesome.
Which is like,
focus on your stuff. Yeah.
And I just finished up a new Turnstile song for a skate comp, and
awesome.
then
love them.
And then let's see, But with the producing stuff right now, I'm trying to do less
gotcha.
I'm trying to do, instead of doing like 10 or 12 records a year, I'm trying to keep it to like 3 or 4 and kind of focus on like some of my own stuff and just life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. You're in a place to be able to do that too. You know what I mean? Focus on you. It seems like you put a lot of time in helping other people and doing that. It's good to have time, you know, focus on yourself too as well, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have like a top 5 or any, like, what would be like your most influential artist or humans or anything that inspires you at a young age or still inspire you, you know?
Well, okay, so I would say like I feel like 7 Seconds New Wind is like,
fuck yes,
was like the game changer record for me. Like that probably spoke to like kind of the outside me who I wanted. It just touched base on all of these like parenting and like,
dude, man enough to care,
women's rights and things like that. And that was like, was like the kind of like aspirational me. And then the Right to Spring, full length is like literally like the most touching, like inside me kind of record. Like that is like the things that are in my head that I don't like kind of like talk about record. So I would say those two records are probably like kind of the most like kind of like defining of like my morality kind of in a sense. And then I would say the Cure is like one of my. Are you into the Cure?
Yeah, I love the Cure. Yes.
Yeah, that's like just kind of musically, like their kind of journey is one of my favorites. And then one of my all-time favorites is Inside Out.
Wow.
Oh,
it's awesome.
And but the thing of it, so the coolest thing about Inside Out for me is that like my brother was doing this zine called Free Thought. Okay. And like we were like pen pals with all these bands.
Yeah.
And we got the Inside Out demo when before it was on Rev, and we got to see them play, and that was literally like a life changing kind of like emotional experience. Like I'd never felt that just like overcome by like everything. Like it was angry, but it was emotional, and it was musical, and it was all that. And the best thing, I'll never forget this, it was at Unisound, and we had just finished the Battery demo, and we knew the promoter at Unisound, and I gave him I gave him the demo, and he went over and gave it to the sound guy, and they played the Battery demo. And I'll never forget standing there and looking around the room, and not that they were listening, but seeing like Walter and Ray and, Zach, and like all of these people that to me were like gods. And they were like, it was called Fury at the time. This is the new Fury demo from Washington, D.C., and played the demo over the PA. And I just felt like, and I'm in 8th grade, and I'm like,
fucking amazing, dude.
Oh my God. Anyway, so, and then I would say probably Fugazi. And just because, I mean, it was like kind of the emotion of all the things that I love, but the musicality, but also like, I just feel like they really like my kind of social and political awareness was really enlightened by them. Like, I'll never forget, I think you might have been there. It was the Fugazi Soulside Verbal Assault show at Wilson Center.
Yep.
And I was in 7th grade, and I'll tell you, like, it's not very like, I had never in my entire life heard anybody talk about being gay as like an okay thing.
Okay.
It was bad. It was embarrassing. It was something that was like, I had never known anybody that was gay.
Yep.
I'd never been, I mean, it wasn't like, my daughter has like trans friends and gay friends, and it's like no big deal, but it wasn't like that.
No.
And the speech Ian gave it's in Instrument, the Fugazi documentary. But when Fugazi was playing and they're like jamming, and it still shows it was like so fucking emotional. And he gave this speech about these gay guys that had been beaten up in DuPont Circle, and how like fucked up it was to like be prejudiced against people for being gay. And I literally said to my brother, like he's talking about like gay, like that's okay, like I mean, it was like I had never experienced that, and it like it like literally like things like that in hardcore in general totally shaped like my like Four Walls Falling, like things that they sang about like social injustice. It like has shaped my like view of the world to this day. And like I didn't have like woke parents that were like talking to me about shit the way that I talk to my daughter about shit. I had music, and like fortunately like I was around this like and it wasn't just like music like you're seeing it at the fucking arena. It was like I'm standing 5 feet from this dude pouring his heart out, and not only am I hearing him, but I'm feeling the emotion of what he's saying, and it's like sitting with me. And then it doesn't it doesn't take right away, but it's like it was so emotional that it stuck with me over time. Like after that, when people would say fag or say, it just started to feel like that's not okay. That's not fucking cool. And like, I just feel like, you know, like I'm just not sure like what type of person I would be had I not been exposed to like so much like awesomeness.
Yeah, I mean, Ian was like a father figure probably to you too as well. Like just the stuff, even Embrace is another record that's fucking.
Oh my god!
It's in my top 5 out of any record. I put that up, like even I love Nas.
It is.
Like,
it's definitely in my top 5. So it's funny because it's like, again, it's kind of like that record is a little bit like my outside voice, and then it Rites of Spring's like my inside voice.
Yeah, I like that, dude. Be Well has a Rites of Spring vibe for sure, and Embrace vibe to me, for sure, man.
I mean, that's like absolutely my biggest vocal, not influence, because I don't think I sound like that, but just the way that he like puts the words to the songs and like delivers the cadence and all of that is just so like for me, it's like really like, you know, special.
And we'll go back to New Wind real quick. I mean, Man Enough to Care, like that song stuck with me as a kid. I didn't even have a dad, and I never thought I was going to even be a dad, but that song to this day will make me tear up listening to it, especially being a parent, right?
Me too, 100%.
Daddy
like,
always 100%, told you,
like,
do it like a man. Dude, fuck.
I know, man. It's like I said, like they're like not just boys font. Like that record is like, I'm telling you, that was like my aspirational. Like this is like, I want to grow up to like make Kevin proud.
Yeah, totally. but nobody was singing about shit like that in the hardcore scene. Nobody was singing about that shit, dude. Nobody.
No. Oh my god, that record is so good. And you know what's crazy is just nothing is really like 7 seconds. Just it's like how many fucking great songs. Like it's insane.
Yeah. It's
just insane. And then they kind of like. Every record is totally different too.
Yeah.
Like it's just the evolution of the band just made so much sense.
And
I could talk about fucking.
Me too. We can. And I love Soul Force. I love Praise. I love when they started getting more melodic. People hated them. I love that they were fucking. Dude, I love those records more than anything. The melodic ones.
Oh my god. Like Soul Force. I'm like, is he even playing a guitar? What is that sound that's happening? Like I can't. It's so like jangly and cool, and it's like it's so fucking cool, man. It's so cool.
So that was your top 5. So Rites of Spring, Fugazi, what would you say after
7 seconds?
7 seconds, of course. That's 3.
Inside Out, and
Inside
then
Out.
Probably The Cure.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
thing about The Cure is
Great
like
mix.
The Cure was like they were like the band that stuck with me through all of it.
Yeah.
And they were so musical and also emotional in just a really different way.
Yeah.
So that was always like a place I could go to that was like not hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you like U2?
Yes, I did. I loved U2.
Fucking
I mean,
amazing.
I loved U2, but I didn't have the same like emotional connection to U2.
Yeah.
Like I loved it, but not in the same way that like Pure Disintegration. I like probably have listened to that record like 10,000 times. Like I mean, it's kind of like crazy how much I've listened to that, and it's like super influenced. Like a lot of the like it's funny because it's like my production styles like kind of like punchy and like hardcore. But then like when I got into doing the like Thrices and Circuit Survives and things like that kind of Cure influence really like helped me navigate that world.
And then I pretty much know the answer to this last question is that, well, 2 things. First of all, I want to thank you for everything you put out there, music, and also it's like we knew each other for a very long time, and I knew Battery. I heard songs throughout my life, and then we toured together last summer, and I mean, Adam kept saying like they're our favorite new hardcore band when you guys have been around for just as long as we have, but like you have such incredible songs and just touring you guys and getting to know you guys more, and like I love Battery so much, and I'm happy we got to at least tour with you one time. You know, it was so fun, and like
right.
I don't know, I just
loved
it.
It was
man.
fucking great. Yeah, that tour. You know what's funny about that tour? It's like I loved I love that tour. And I will be honest, I was a little nervous because like we had known each other for a long time, but like I am like not comfortable being out there the way you are in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm kind of like, what's this vibe going to be like? Like, you know, like I'm like a pretty like sensitive dude, you know, like what, am I going to be able to navigate like, you know, Toby and Adam, like these big personalities. And then like, I fucking loved every fucking minute of hanging with you guys. It was like crazy. Like Adam and you and I talking on the bus and like walks with Adam. It was just really, it was a really special tour. And it was also fun. Like I was sort of telling my wife, it was kind of like a wedding. Like it may never happen again. It wasn't about anything except the moment. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like it was cool. So yeah. So what was the other question you had?
Well, I already know the answer, but do you consider yourself an optimist or pessimist?
Okay. I am definitely. I am definitely. I am a plan for the worst, hope for the best, I guess, is what I would say.
A realist.
I'm very hard on myself, and I'm very prone to anxiety. So I do worry about things.
Yeah.
But I am 100% like an optimist in the sense that, like, I do think that things ultimately, like, when my head is clear, I know that things, like, work out. Yeah. I know that, like, I am surrounded by the most incredible and most talented people that like you could ever hope to know.
Yep.
And I just feel like I am capable of a lot and like I feel good about, you know, whatever. Now that being said, I worry and I like, you know, I wish I could be positive always.
Yeah.
But I do. We're
not perfect.
I do believe. I do believe I'm an optimist, and when I look back at like, when I look at like what my friends have done, and like how many incredible people that I've been able to like keep up with in life, you know, in a sense.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, it's like, you know. Yeah. We know the best people in the world. Like, it's just amazing. And it's like so fucking awesome that like my daughter gets to know these people and cause like, she literally sees like the arc of my life and literally thinks like anything is possible.
That's amazing, man.
So
I like that. I love that.
It's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah. It's hard when you have a kid though. It's just hard. For me, it's definitely a struggle as far as like the different chapters and the different ages of your kid as you see them grow and dealing with, you know, things in school and this, like, you know, what's happening in the government and the planet, and just trying to like know that one day I'm not going to be here on the planet with my son, and I want him to be okay. It's just, I mean, all this stuff I can't control, so I shouldn't really stress about it. It is hard when you become a parent. You look at the world way different. You know, it's like.
Well, it's actually funny, like with the parenting thing, because like the Be Well songs are pretty personal, and they're like, at times I'm singing about things that are kind of dark. Yeah. You know, because I'm singing about things that are like, I have a hard time saying otherwise. And when we played that show with you guys in Philly, and my daughter's there, and I'm thinking, it's got to be crazy for her to like hear me say some of this, and then I'm like, and then it's like, but I want like. This is who I am, and this like she needs to know that like like that these like things exist inside of me as well. Yeah. Like if she doesn't know that, she's never going to know me, and I feel like, you know, like that's like, even if it may be hard for her to hear me say something that is like, I don't want to say dark, but like you know, real and painful and whatever. Like, if she doesn't know that I've had those feelings or that those things have existed in my life, she's never going to really know who I am. And then I don't want that. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's interesting. Being old, right?
Yeah. That show in Philly, man, you were like a totally different band to me. Like not sound wise, but from your first show to second, I don't know if that was your second show or not. It just feels like you've been playing.
Show, yeah.
I feel like you guys been playing for so long. Maybe because your daughter was in the crowd. I don't know, man. It was just, I was like, holy shit, these guys are ready to go. I was just,
yeah,
awesome.
And I mean, I can't thank you guys enough for like, it was so cool to like play with you guys and have it be like friends and everybody be supportive. So that was fucking sweet.
Well, I'm happy that you're in a good place. I know you struggle with, like you said, depression your whole life and dark places and all that, but I definitely feel like, you know, I don't know. I feel like just talking to you now. I know you're in a good place, and everybody goes through shit. We're not perfect. We can't be positive 24/7. We do our fucking best. Everybody struggles with shit.
Right.
And I feel like you've channeled that in a positive way with lyric writing, and you're producing, and just becoming a dad is everything, and like wanting to raise your kid in a totally opposite way you were raised. And I don't know. I feel like by just talking to you today, I got to know you a lot more, and you definitely have the PMA, and throughout everything you've been like in the streets, going to the hospital, all that, you just, I don't know, you made your way through life, and I'm so happy you're here, you know?
Oh yeah, man. And I'm so happy that we've reconnected at this point in our life. And like every time I get a text from you, I just light up, man. It's fucking great. So anyway, will you send your family my love? And I really appreciate you including me in this. And I love these podcasts.
I love you, and I'm glad you're here. And because of you and the listeners, it's because of Brian. In like 2 weeks, I'm doing a part 3 with Mike Judge, and we're going to break down Chunk Kick and Suck It. So
that is what I want to hear, man.
Yeah, we're doing it because of you. And I told Mike that you suggested that, and he's totally down. So the part 3 of Mike Judge is because of you. So I'm psyched to do this. So it's going to be awesome.
I love it. Okay,
all right, bro. Great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Give my love and my best to your family.
All right, send Maximum my love. All right, buddy.
Thanks, Brian. Bye.
Okay.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.